There's something timeless about a glasshouse, a space where nature and design meet in perfect harmony, light, warmth, and craftsmanship under one roof. For Alitex, that story began with inspiration drawn from the great Victorian glasshouses, beautiful structures of timber, and glass that once stood as icons of innovation and artistry. But where the Victorians used timber, Alitex has reimagined their legacy in aluminium, capturing the charm and elegance of the original designs while embracing the strength, longevity, and sustainability of modern engineering. From heritage to innovation, every Alitex glasshouse tells a story of timeless design, reimagined for today and built to last for generations to come. Where does the inspiration for each structure come from?
Alitex, many years ago, to the early 60s, when it ventured into the world of greenhouses. When I got involved, my colleague John Lawson had been with the business 2 or 3 years, and he brought with him a real passion for Victorian horticulture. And it was his idea to actually turn what was a reasonably commercial structure into something more attuned with the Victorians. To do that, he simply made the roof pitch steeper. He added barge boards and depth to the bottom rail and the ridge. He put some decorative elements, the cresting and the finials, and then painted the structures. And in so doing, created the first Alitex Victorian greenhouse. And we went to see this rather well-to-do chap who was quite keen on replacing a whole bunch of Victorian structures. But he felt that our structure at the time didn't quite do justice to the original Victorians. But he challenged us and said, I'll give you a year, and if you can come back with something which I think is more honestly a replica of the Victorian stuff, I'll think about it. And lo and behold, we went away and we looked a bit more at the history, and we made it a mission to develop as closely as possible the Thomas Messenger, Victorian Thomas Messenger in aluminium. And we're actually standing in the result of what we came up with. And lo and behold, the owner of the estate said, I love it, I'll replace my timber structures in your Thomas Messenger. That was one of the first ones we built, and it's really been our flagship since then. Here we are in the Alitex factory at Torbury Farm. I like to think this is where the magic happens. It's not a very complicated process, but I'll walk you through it. We have an issue sheet, so the whole greenhouse is issued from design, and it goes onto these trolleys. These guys put it onto the trolley and then we wheel it through to the machine shop. In our machine shop, and this is when we brought the material that's all been issued onto a trolley. This is where the greenhouse actually starts to take shape.
So we get 5 metre plastic extruded lengths come in. They get cut on the saw to the BOM length, which is the bill of materials, which is produced from the design office.
The design office is an essential part of translating an idea, a concept, a specification into something that we can actually make. So the first step is a ground plan.
Well, we can do several ground plans. We do the provisionals, so that will just be overall sort of dimensions, what they can have laid out for them. Then we can do the design for construction, as we call it, which will be everything nailed down. That is what you'll have in your garden.
There's real ergonomics behind the inside layout. So a bench is never deeper than your arm because you can't reach to the back. And a doorway will have a wheelbarrow come in and out.
So once you've done that, you then need to translate that into instructions and drawings for the shop floor. What does that process look like?
So we'll take the final model, we'll run some macros that we've got that will produce all the step files.
The programs are sent to the machine, come to the screen, it's all touchscreen controlled. They load the programs up, set clamps up where they need to be able to hold the material better, press the button. Once it's complete, they'll take it off, clean the part of all and swarf, camera sink, and then put it onto the finished trolley.
It's actually fleur-de-lis, so it's a very Victorian style, but when we get here, we're actually starting to make the greenhouse look beautiful. An awful lot of the crucial elements come, and it's Duncan's arena.
Well, obviously this is the manual area. What we're doing here, in my perspective, is quite key. This is where the greenhouse pretty much comes to life. So we will look at or take the jobs from the machine shop. We will then bring them in here, compare them to the model. We'll have a look at our production schedule as well, so that we can ensure that what we are cross-referencing all matches up to what we then need to do going forward. If there's anything that I'm not happy with, I'll make sure the team are aware of it as well, and we will learn so that we can essentially all be singing off the same hymn sheet in that sense.
And it's interesting, people arrive and think, oh, this is a straightforward thing, and once they get involved, they realise, crikey, if you don't get this right, the rest of the process is irrelevant. Never underestimate the manual area, that's for sure.
Exactly.
By now, the greenhouse is, we've got the complete greenhouse.
Yeah.
The key element of finishing the greenhouse is what we call the pre-treat. So you have to put a film onto the surface of the aluminium before you spray it. And it's that film which protects it for many, many decades going forward.
Yeah.
What we do though, every one that's painted, we have to do a test plate, and then we test it in the weather and we hold on to it for a couple of years just to make sure that it's of the standard we want. So once we get to this stage, the metal has had its etch baked on and it's fully protected, but we now need to add the colour. And it's not a terribly complicated process, but essentially you have to know what you're doing. Rob, who is working in our booth over there, he's been doing this for about 150 years. And Roberto,
You're going to Rob.
This is a good setup to some of what I've been used to, and it works. They're offering X amount of years guarantee, which a lot of companies don't offer that.
How many of these are really you doing per greenhouse?
Hundreds. Some are more, some are less.
we are now doing some textured finishes, aren't we? We're now in the finishing area. Paul essentially is in charge of this finishing area. He can give you a bit more detail of how we take the greenhouse, bring it together and pop it into our bay.
Yeah, our primary role is basically to make sure that the quality is correct.
Yes.
And that the amount of each item is correct according to the BOM. That's the basis of our job. And then we put them into the bays that are allocated for each customer and basically make them so as when the installers turn up, they can just take them away, load the vans, go to site with the confidence that they've got everything that they need, the quality that they require to do the job.
And then in the early 2000s, we've been focusing on doing one-off bespoke structures. We felt we needed something which was more attainable, and we came up with a little greenhouse that fitted well in a cottage garden or a town garden. And just as we were about to launch it, the National Trust contacted us and inquired as to whether we'd like to go into partnership. And so it was very serendipitous that we'd created this beautiful little structure with elegant glazing bars, and but it was still very much a working greenhouse. And the National Trust wanted to come on board and partner with us.
So we worked with a team from the Trust and with ourselves and John, who's a stickler for detail, and we came up with initially 3, the Hidcote, the Scotney and the Stourhead, all named after gardens. The National Trust relationship as a collaboration, like the ultimate collaboration, was just perfect. I mean, it's, you know,
Yeah.
National Trust is renowned for houses, but more and more so for its gardens and that outside space element.
From a sustainable point of view, don't ever overmake.
No, even when we go to Chelsea, everything goes to Chelsea Flower Show with a home to go to straight afterwards. Because we just, even when we have so we had 2, at our show site, we've had 2 greenhouses that we've needed to, one move and one replace. And the one that we needed to move was when we built the new building over there. And we had our Thomas Messenger here on site, and it was a beautiful greenhouse. And we thought actually what we'd love to do is give it a new home in a charity. It ended up going to the Patchworking Garden Project, which is a really lovely project that uses gardening for people with many disabilities, physical disabilities and mental disabilities.
So they're designed to last. How long?
Yeah,
Should,
so we guarantee these for 25 years, but actually they will all outlast us. So if you want to build something for your grandchildren, their grandchildren, your great-great-great-grandchildren, these structures will be around from a legacy point of view for many, many generations to come.
When I came to Hampton Court Flower Show, for me, when I walked in, it was just a space I didn't really want to leave. I sort of just wanted to sit down and
I think that's it.
Relax in. And I think that's it's sort of the antithesis to a really busy world.
Yeah,
So
and I
it's-
think people are really increasingly recognising that need to just slow down. And I think gardens are really wonderful for that.